there's one thing that can't be refuted, is that the Cleveland Browns put a lot of time, energy, effort, and resources into Deshaun Watson. Do you think that they somewhere have a little doubt in the back of their mind? And would they make the trade again today if they had to? We'll tell you, G. Bush, Jeff will tell you that coming up here on the next episode of the Locked On Browns podcast.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. Your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, whether it is your favorite podcast platform. Make sure you follow and subscribe to Locked On Browns or YouTube, as we said, closing in on the 1,000 mark subscriber-wise. Appreciate everybody with that. We appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. As Garrett said, we are going to get into a little bit here about the Browns' current quarterback, Mr. Deshaun Watson. Latest news, obviously, it appears maybe 2 more lawsuits are going to be filed, and just a number that doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. If anybody's seen maybe the news here early on Tuesday morning, apparently, things heating up for Baker Mayfield and the Carolina Panthers and the Browns as far as a possible deal getting done there. But we are going to get into this a little bit here, because with Watson, and look, for the Browns, the positives of this, and it is obviously on-field play and what Deshaun Watson can do as quarterback for the Browns. None of that can be achieved yet. The earliest it could be would be September, or maybe October, or maybe November, maybe December. Some of you maybe even think possibly 2023. The PR hits keep coming, Garrett. They keep coming basically on the daily right now, as far as you're not going to get anything positive right now in any way, shape, or form from the acquisition of Deshaun Watson. And you get another day like yesterday where maybe more lawsuits are going to be added, to what's been going on in that situation revolving the Browns quarterback. So you get to this position of, you're taking a lot of hits right now, for this, and it continues to go on. You're not going to see the reward until Deshaun Watson actually takes the field for this team. So it does bring up the question, is, the lengths they went to, and basically of, mortgaging the future, and in some maybe possibilities, according to many, selling your soul, so to speak. The Browns, wait for the availability of their signal caller and wait for actually getting on the field and competing in the 2022 regular season.
Well, and when you talk about Deshaun Watson, I think there's one thing that comes to mind. And yes, there are significant, I guess what you would call it, PR hits or these allegations or the different things coming out. But I want to be clear though. We do know that this is a strategy, right? Like, you could possibly name all the people at once, right? The strategy is to slowly but surely trickle these people out, so it just seems like it's a never-ending stream of individuals coming forward. If you know all the people that are going to come forward at the end of the day, you could just put them all on the paper and say these are the people that are suing you. But this is a pressure tactic, and rightfully so. If you're the attorney, your job is to put maximum pressure and get the highest amount of a settlement you can for all of your plaintiffs. So that's part of the game. But in terms of whether or not the Cleveland Browns would make this move again, I wholeheartedly believe that they would take and make this move every day and twice on Sunday. It may be a little bit. It may be a little bit difficult for them to, swallow some of the stuff that comes along with it. But when you look at it, it's a business of wins and losses, right? It's the reason why there's always somebody that'll go out and look at Antonio Brown. There's always a reason why Josh Gordon is still in the league, right? You're going to, as an owner, do everything that you can and do to make sure that your team is successful. And if you're Jimmy and D Haslam, what they looked at is said, listen, this guy's in the prime of his career. Even if push comes to shove, he misses a whole year. He's still 27 years old. He comes back, and we have a franchise quarterback at probably what will be a bargain in about 5 years, because $230 million compared to some of these guys, Josh Allen got a big deal, but some of these new guys coming back up for contract, they could be getting 500, $50 million, whatever the case may be. I think they looked at it from a point saying, look, hey, this guy can potentially give us an opportunity to get to the Super Bowl. And they took that opportunity and said, hey, we'll figure out, is he going to jail? Okay, these are civil suits. Okay, well, we comfortable with that. And I just think some people won't be comfortable with it. That's fine. You have your own prerogative. You won't be comfortable with it. Some people are going to say, hey, I can't watch the Browns anymore. But that's just reality of what the NFL is, and that's how it's moving. And I think the Browns, based on what he gives them on the field, an opportunity to win, they do it again. What your thoughts?
I don't think there's a question now maybe of regret. I think maybe is there a question now of, is there maybe some things we didn't know? The fact that they gave that speech and said we did our due diligence, and of course, you can say that. Everybody wants to basically know what you mean by we did our due diligence. As you seem to get further out here, what did we hear originally? It was 20 something, or maybe it was 40 something possible women, when the number in fact was actually closer to 70. I don't believe, it doesn't sound like anybody knew the number was that high. So if you say you did your due diligence, it certainly raises, the question of, are you sure? Are you sure you did your due diligence? Now, as far as, the PR hits you're taking every day, were the Browns of the understanding, that it was going to be 2022 and that was it? And they said, all right, we'll let this play out in civil court, and, whatever comes of it, comes of it. The Browns were desperate for a major upgrade at the quarterback position. There's no way around it. They did not hide their feelings. They did not hide their feelings to the media. They did not hide their feelings to their current quarterback at the time, in Baker Mayfield. They had, eyes of luster towards an Aaron Rodgers, towards a Russell Wilson. Deshaun Watson was the most attainable for them. There was a player who was in a situation in Houston with a team where it was not going to go on anymore. Russell Wilson was going to be able to pick his destination. Aaron Rodgers was never going to go anywhere else but Green Bay. But Deshaun Watson was the one guy that fit the mantra of, we want to upgrade the quarterback and go as close to elite as possible. Players of Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, those guys obviously certainly were available. You get in the situation and you put everything out there to bring Deshaun Watson in the fold. Are you going to regret it without getting Deshaun Watson on the field? There's probably not a way that's going to happen. You knew the situation wasn't perfect. You knew it wasn't, lily lace white when you acquired this player. You knew there was some things going on. You knew there was going to be some media feedback. You knew there was going to be some fan feedback. Certainly the PR hits have not gotten any better. There is no way to do any damage control right now, because it's not like you're going to take Deshaun Watson and put him in places where he can give back to the public. The situation is too new, and the situation is not resolved to this point. So until all that is, you can't basically try to rebrand Deshaun Watson. So they have to take what they can get. But as far as regret, I think maybe there's more heat coming their way than they anticipated, and deservedly so for many fans who feel that way. Totally understandable. But the reward for the Browns, of this move in their eyes, will never get close to anything as far as for the Browns feeling that way until we actually get to playing games. It's just the way it is. I mean, this is the one thing he was done, was to take this team, which was a playoff caliber team, to start coming in and making this team a AFC championship caliber team, a Super Bowl caliber team. So right now they got to take whatever comes their way. And whatever goes along with a possible suspension for Watson, they're going to have to take that as well. But obviously they felt this reward was just the possibility of this reward was just too great that they couldn't turn it down. So right now it's tough for them. It is. It's tough for them because they're getting all the negatives of this, which I hope wholeheartedly they anticipated. But any of the positives of this move they made, it's going to be a while before they can get to see any of those.
Yeah. And I think you don't make this move unless everybody's all in. That means the coach, the GM, D and Jimmy, and even their daughter, who's probably part of the decision making process as part of the organization. So you don't do this move unless you guys have sat down and thought about the different things that could come with it. Obviously, they've signed a guy like Kareem Hunt, and that was a backlash, but not to this extent. So I think they knew what they were getting into, and I think they made the decision based on strictly football.
It's what it was based on, and I know I'll still say to this day I think they did not maybe go as deep as they needed to. I'm not saying it would have changed their minds. I'm not saying it would have stopped them from the move. But maybe, they didn't get under the rock as much as maybe they possibly needed to. We're going to get here a little further. And, for when you go this deep into a move, obviously with Deshaun Watson and everything they gave up, the question is what is a suitable, reward for said move as far as, what goes on with this team. Garrett Bush, Jeff Lloyd, Locked On Browns, appreciate y'all for making us your first listen every day. At BlueNile.com, you can celebrate all of life's special moments, from creating the custom engagement ring of her dreams to gifting a classic and timeless jewelry piece, all at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. Whether you're ready to pop the question or you were celebrating a milestone moment, find jewelry as unique as her with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. Building the engagement ring of her dreams or celebrate life's special moments with fine jewelry. No matter what you were looking for, Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com, and Locked On Browns listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement rings. Use promo code Locked On, all caps, no space. Again, Locked On. Plus, every order is insured, it ships free, and it arrives in a discreet package that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today.
Welcome back to the Locked On Browns podcast. G. Bush in the building, Jeff Lloyd in the building. Make sure you go and follow Locked On Browns podcast. Make sure you follow that on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're downloading your daily podcast. This is the one-stop shop where you get all of your latest Browns news. Definitely check us out. Make sure you follow at GBush91 on Twitter, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd on Twitter as well. Make sure you keep moving those numbers up close to that 1,000 mark. We want to keep pushing. We want to keep going, and we're ready. Training camp is starting up. You don't want to miss the daily podcast because you're going to get all the latest and greatest information here on the Locked On Browns podcast. So when we're looking at the situation with Deshaun Watson, we kind of have to go into a situation of looking at, okay, so you have him now. You don't make any regrets. We talked about the regrets earlier on in that. But I was sitting there talking to a couple of people on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and we kind of like touched down on this topic. If you look at it from a standpoint of success of the trade, if you got Deshaun Watson and say, for instance, he never wins a Super Bowl, never quite gets to the promised land. Maybe he actually gets to the Super Bowl, loses. Maybe he's in the AFC Championship game a few times, they lose. How do you evaluate this move? And from my perspective, I came at it and looked at it like this. This move doesn't guarantee the Cleveland Browns will win a championship, and I think people need to understand that to a certain extent. The move wasn't to just say, oh, the Browns are automatically champs now. That move was to put you in contention to be able to be spoken of and potentially being able to have the right quarterback back there to give you a chance year in and year out. In the AFC, that's the only thing you can ask for. When you take a look at the roster of quarterbacks from even on the lower end, Derek Carr, in the higher end, you got Patrick Mahomes, you got Joe Burrow, you got Josh Allen, you got Herbert is here now. Russell Wilson is in the building. Obviously, Deshaun Watson here, Lamar Jackson. The names just, right now, they're about 9 deep in the AFC. So just because you got a guy like Deshaun Watson does not give you the overwhelmingly, chances of you getting to the Super Bowl and winning multiple Super Bowls, because the AFC is just that talented. We haven't even got to some of the quarterbacks that you're going to see on the NFC side. Dak Prescott, some of those individuals that are out there. And so my thing is, you have to be able, what you can expect and what Browns fans should come to grow to expect is not necessarily whether or not the Browns are going to win the Super Bowl or guarantee and pinpoint the Super Bowl, but giving yourself the best opportunity and chance to get there. And when you're there, you got to capitalize. The quarterback has to play well, and then some of your ancillary parts, some of your parts, pieces and parts, some of the supporting cast, whether it be offensive line, running backs, receivers, defense, turnover, special teams. Those things have to get you there. It takes a little bit of luck to win the big one. But it's going to take a baseline of skill level to get there, to set yourself up for that.
What you're looking at, and if you're looking at this maybe from the ownership standpoint, is you hired a new general manager and a new head coach in 2020 in Andrew Berry and Coach Stefanski. In 2020, you saw this team with not a great defense, but a pretty good offense get this team not only to the playoffs, but also to get this team 4 minutes away from the AFC Championship game. If it was not for a fourth down conversion to Tyreek Hill, where Andy Reid basically said, I do not want to give this young quarterback Baker Mayfield the ball one more opportunity to maybe take this game from us in our own stadium. But now you look at this, and I'm sorry, this bar has to be raised. If that's where you were able to get in 2020, you did not have the defense you had in 2021. The defense in 2022 should probably be even better than it was in 2021. You have new pieces in Amari Cooper, a wide receiver who skill level wise matches up with the two receivers who were here, but certainly not as much of a, I don't even know the correct word here. Let's just put it away, more all in, and certainly not a knock on Jarvis Landry, maybe a knock on the other one. The tight end position, you feel you have upgraded. Your running back room is outstanding. You have to think, if you were the Cleveland Browns and you made this decision with Deshaun Watson, that this is going to lead to at least a Super Bowl appearance. One issue the Browns had over the last 2 years with Baker Mayfield was when they needed Baker Mayfield to go finish a game in the second half, go 15 of 18. And he did do it the Cincinnati game. Of course, everyone remembers when that was a game where Odell went down in 2020. But they felt that they were not confident enough in Baker Mayfield, where a game was going to be put on his shoulders mid-third quarter, and maybe he was going to have to go 3 straight drives, or he's going to have to go every drive we get for the 3-4 drives. We're going to need minimum 20. We're going to need minimum 21. We're going to need minimum 24 points. We are in an absolute shootout. They felt that Baker Mayfield obviously was not capable of that. They feel Deshaun Watson is, and he can go throw for throw late in the game. Very similar to the Chiefs-Bills playoff game last year, where Mahomes and Josh Allen, it looked like that could have went on all night because both those quarterbacks were in the zone and both of them were just absolutely cooking with gas. This has to be the belief of what they brought in with Deshaun Watson. They have to believe for the return of 3 first-round picks, for the return of $238 million guaranteed, for the return of a black eye that this organization is taking as a whole from their own fan base, from the media, from the entire NFL community throughout the entire United States, for all that they went and all the lengths and levels they went to bring this player in. They have to feel that if they do not at least play, and like you said, look, Super Bowl can get wonky, you get some crazy things that happen, but they honestly have to believe that they are going to at least play in a Super Bowl, because when you go all in, and literally they went all in of all in, the Browns did with this move, you have to feel that you are going to be playing at some point in Deshaun Watson's career here in Cleveland. You were going to be playing in a Super Bowl. You have to feel that way.
Well, that's the hope. That's the hope that he gets you over the hump. I just go back and watch that game against Kansas City. And I go to the not the Browns, but the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills, one of the best games that I've ever seen in my life. You go back and watch that game. Both of those quarterbacks deserve to win that game. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes played their tail off. I mean, it took Patrick Mahomes 13 seconds to get downfield in order to rob Josh Allen of one of the best games I've seen somebody play on the road in a very long time. And so when you look at the margin for error, where you can look at whether or not you're going to say, okay, this team is going to be set up to win championships, you still got to go out there and do it. And you need to be able to do it by all means necessary. It would help if you had a home field advantage. It would help if you had a strong defense. And it would help if you could have a running game, if you could salt that thing away and get it done. But those are the things that I think the Browns are envisioning. For me, the Browns, and I've said this from Jump Street, the Cleveland Browns need to once again win enough games to get people to know that I got to go to the dog pound in January. Listen, stop, play all. When people always talk about in the beginning of the season, Jeff, oh, it's early. It's early. You guys are panicking. It's early. And I'm saying your expectation levels is way too low, because for me, it's not about making the playoffs. It's about setting yourself up the best way you can to win a championship. And if that means home field advantage, when guys got to throw the ball over loud barking and that place is electric, and you might got a 25-mile-an-hour wind coming off that lake, you want all the advantages. So that's what you got Deshaun Watson for. Those 12, 13, 14 wins in order to get yourself an opportunity to set yourself up for home playoff victories, which would eventually lead to the Super Bowl.
It's without question. I mean, this is supposed to make you the best this franchise has ever been, even back during the glory years in the late 80s. This is supposed to be the best era, the best product of the Cleveland Browns that has ever existed. Will it get that way? No one's going to know. Obviously, nobody's got the crystal ball. If we all did, the world would be boring as heck anyway.
The world may never know.
No doubt. But right now, obviously, they're taking a lot of lumps over it. And again, the only way to see where the positives of this trade is in the eyes of Jimmy Haslam, Andrew Berry, Paul DePodesta, and Kevin Stefanski will come once number 4 actually puts, cleats to turf. And when that time comes, we're not really sure of it yet, but expectations high. Is the bar set extremely high? It is, and it absolutely should be, because you make a colossal trade like this, give up all those first round picks, $238 million guaranteed in salary. It's about playing for the Lombardi, and literally not just making the playoffs. It's literally about being the one of 2 teams that play for the Lombardi. We're going to get to a little bit more here. G. Bush, host of The Barbershop, and certainly part of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Your host, Jeff Lloyd. Appreciate everybody being along for the ride. BetOnline.net is your number 1 source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, news, and odds, and including the NBA Finals, the NHL Stanley Cup, Major League Baseball, and of course, all the latest fighting news from MMA and UFC to boxing. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Locked On Browns podcast, rolling into the last segment. Make sure you guys go are supporting the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. A lot of people will reach out and say, listen, I'm not getting the notifications. You have to hit the notification bell. Make sure you're hitting that. So it's going to push all our latest content to you, and you'll get that right when it drops on YouTube. Continue to run those numbers up on the podcast as well, man. Me and Jeff are in this thing to win it. We competitive. We like all the other Locked On cities. We like y'all out there. We appreciate y'all network, y'all brothers and sisters out here. But we trying to make this Locked On Browns thing the best thing rolling right now. And right now we got a great start. We continue to keep that moving, always almost at 1,000 already. We want to salute you guys for putting that work in and continue to rock with us on Locked On Browns podcast. So we've gone through a little bit of a narrative. We go through, hey, the Deshaun Watson trade, did the Browns kind of regret it? Are they having second thoughts about that? Me and Jeff we opined on that, got into that a little bit. Make sure if you catching us just now, make sure you go back and watch that part and you get that squared away. Second, we talked about, hey, what's the expectation level? If you're going to spend that much money on a guy, 230, 3 first-round draft picks, all of the PR nightmare that's been going on so far. What is the expectation levels for Deshaun Watson? Now let's get into something and kind of bring this thing home. We know he's probably going to be suspended some time this year. People said 4, people have said 6, people said 8. And for me, he could be suspended a year too. But I'm gonna go with just say 8 games, right? Just to be nice. We're gonna be nice and pretend that he gets 8 games. The question is, what does Jacoby Brissett have to do? And presuming he's the backup quarterback, what does he have to do to keep us afloat in order for us to come back and have Deshaun Watson hit the ground running as in terms of a win-loss record to making sure that we get to the playoffs? Because for me, this team is too talented. They're too the window is right now, and we can't be wasting no years talking about, well, we'll get back and start over fresh in 2023. So Jeff, I'm looking at the schedule right now. And if they're going to say Jacoby Brissett's going to play 8 games, I'm looking through the Brown schedule, starting off here with the Jets. That's a winnable game. I think the Steelers, the second game of the year, that's a winnable game. This is with Jacoby Brissett. The Falcons, that's a winnable game right there. So then the first game I'm looking on the schedule that may be a little difficult. You got the Chargers. And so you could be 3-1 after 4. Obviously you got the Patriots. The Patriots boat raced this last year, but Baker Mayfield had his worst game of his life. I think he threw for like 70-something odd yards and a couple of picks. I think the Browns can win that game against New England. That puts you at 4-1 right there. Now the Ravens game might be a little tough, even if you say that's a losable game. That's 5-2, and then you got the Bengals at home, right? I believe that's an 8:15 game, October Halloween game in Cleveland, and that's another tough one. So I'm guessing you can potentially look and see foreseeable 3 L's to the Chargers, the Bengals, or possibly even the Ravens. So for me, I need Jacoby Brissett to be 5-3 if in fact Deshaun Watson gets 8 games. Your thoughts?
And that, I guess Garrett here was just assuming week 1 versus the Panthers was a win, so there was no reason to mention that. Garrett's also
that's another one. That's another. We chalked that one up already.
You got to give Garrett a little slack here today. He's been using these big SAT words this morning, so he missed opine and things of that nature. So he missed the Panther game. But you look at the first 4, and look, everybody's talked about this. I don't believe anybody believes when it finally comes down, it's going to be 4. But week 1, Panthers. Week 2, Jets. Week 3, Steelers. We'll see what the quarterback situation is. Week 4, the Falcons. These are all winnable games, even if Jacoby Brissett is a quarterback for the Browns. These are games where, again, I used the term yesterday, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Run the ball, play good defense. You're not going to have to put a lot on Brissett's shoulders. But then you get to that next 4. And even if you had Deshaun Watson, this is a ringer of 4 games here. The Chargers come to town. It's still going to be early October. It's not going to be the point where this West Coast team is probably going to have to deal with much. Patriots come to town the week after. Again, the Browns should be looking for retribution after an awful, awful showing last year. Then it's your first Raven game going down to Baltimore. This is a statement the Browns kind of need to make. Look, if you want to win the AFC North, you need to basically go down to Baltimore and tell the Ravens, we have surpassed you. Does it happen? Very, very difficult game. And obviously the Browns have had their matchup issues with the Ravens over time. You go to, and then Halloween, Bengals, Monday night, come into town to face the Browns. I agree with you kind of on the 5-3. The Chargers, you look at it, this was a game they should have won last year. New England, I'm not sure. And New England is always the most difficult team to read because, you want to look what makes them better, but you don't truly see it until you see them play games. And it may be better offensive line play, or it may be better run blocking. The things, you see with most teams as far as, improvement within a team. The Patriots, you always have to look and, dig a little deeper to see what made them a better team than maybe they were the year before. Obviously, New England went to the playoffs last year. Then you get to the 2 division games. I mean, look, and if it doesn't work out with the Chargers and the Patriots, and you find a way on the wrong end of both of those games, you need to get the statement made within the AFC North. Look, the Bengals have struggled. Joe Burrow has struggled with the Browns so far throughout his entire career. Is that going to change anytime soon? We all hope not. If he wants to light the rest of the league on fire, that's fine. But, for him to be a dormant, quiet player against the Browns, I'd be more than okay with that. And the Ravens, look, and the other thing is, with the Ravens, look, the way this Browns team is constructed, there shouldn't be anything that's fooling you with the Ravens. I mean, there should be nothing that's fooling you. The Ravens basically are telling you year in, year out, we bring in wide receivers. Our quarterback, our offensive scheme doesn't really know how to use them. So we move on from wide receivers. We try bringing in new ones. Mark Andrews cannot be stopped. And as much as we want to say we are not going to put the Ravens offense on the legs of Lamar Jackson, year in, year out, the Ravens put the Ravens offense on the legs of Lamar Jackson. They're not changing anything. It's nothing new. Is the defense going to be improved this year? Yes, most likely. And then Cincinnati, they're going to be improved around, but they've always matched up well. But I mean, 5-3, I think 5-3 could be expected. I think 6-2 would just be an absolute chef's kiss, Garrett. If you could get Deshaun Watson back where this team was sitting 6-2, and look, just got Jacoby Brissett just doing his job. Nothing special. We can run the ball. We can play defense. We've got a strong offensive line. We'll call some play action passes, and trust me, the guy you're going to be throwing to, he's going to be so open, you're going to be wondering if there's a defense out there, because that is the play calling that you're hopefully going to get from Coach Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah, man, I'd like to see Nick Chubb about 700 yards. I'd like to see Kareem about 450, but he got about 200 in the air, too. Look, I like that. You know what I'm saying? I like to see all that good stuff. Play action. Mari Cooper got about 50, 60 catches already, and we ready to go right when we get Deshaun Watson back. So, that's the best case scenario. That's what we're all hoping and wishing for. But at the end of the day, I think that's what the Cleveland Browns need to be if they want to still stay in contention. Because for me, to play one of these quarterbacks, any of these quarterbacks can win on the road. That's not a guaranteed victory, but my goal is to be shooting for home field advantage when you talk about these playoffs, and to be in that area. You're gonna need a certain level of play, and I think 5-3, 6-2 gets you there.
We've gotten to a bunch here today. What it actually means, for the length and the heaviness of a move the Browns made here in bringing in Deshaun Watson. What are the legitimate expectations? And they should be as high as they've ever been. And that's what happens when you go to the levels the Browns went with this move with Deshaun Watson. We're still monitoring here. Obviously, it looks like the Baker Mayfield talks are heating up with the Carolina Panthers. Maybe we'll get some sort of answer, inkling towards maybe a conclusion to that relationship. Divorce court, maybe judge is ready to maybe finally make a ruling, I guess, so to speak, for Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns. Garrett Bush, of course, the barbershop, Saturday mornings, 92.3 The Fan, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. The guys are doing a fantastic job over there. The show continues to grow, gain new listeners. Everybody seems really, really excited about the direction of it. Happy for Garrett and the crew over there. Make sure you're following at GBush91. The show itself at Locked On Browns, follow back account. DMs are open. Questions, thoughts, ideas for the show, always feel free to hit up the account. Me personally at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Again, DMs are open there as we are here in the off season. And, come Friday, we really have some flexibility with the schedule over the next 5 weeks before training camp begins. So, anything you'd like to hear, questions, of course, feel free to hit us up as much as you guys do for us. Appreciate you. Always try to be able to pay you folks back in spades wherever you get your podcasts, whatever platform. Make sure you're following, subscribe to the show, leave those 5-star ratings, written reviews. YouTube, let's get this 1K wrapped up by the end of the week, if not sooner. North and 950 now, closing in on the 1,000 mark. Make sure you are subscribed. And as Garrett said, make sure you have the notifications on. That way, the latest information will come to you and be ready for you. You talk about, obviously, with maybe Baker Mayfield, looks like it's just pending at this point. Some words, some thoughts of that if it does happen, just more ways of getting content to you guys directly as quickly as we can. We appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns our first listen. The show would be nothing without you. And with all of this being said, this has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB. Let's go Browns.